It looks like our birds are done with their lunch, but I'm going to hang out for a few more minutes and see if anybody gets hungry. So this is their yearly migration cycle right now, and one of our birds, Patsy, wanted to save a fish, but she was kind of getting chased into the water, so she jumped into the water with the fish, and this started all of this porpoising. So this is one of the ways these guys can get away from predators, by porpoising, but here at the aquarium, they really just do it for exercise. But also when it's migration time, you really don't want to look around to see why everybody else is diving down. If they're diving down, you're going to do that too. That was Patsy eating another herring. 2 for her. 3 for her. So Patsy's had a total of 5 herring today. That's probably all she's going to eat. She might eat a few more. These guys get 2 types of fish, herring and capelin. In their natural habitat, they're going to eat small schooling fish. They actually have an adaptation inside their mouth that allows them to swallow their food whole. Here at the Aquarium of the Pacific, herring is their favorite. Sometimes we give them trout. Occasionally, our seals and sea lions get trout, so we give some to the penguins. You're looking at 23 Magellanic penguins. 13 of them did hatch here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. 2 of those that hatched this past May are on deck right now. That's Dee and Cleopatra. They hatched at the end of May this past year. They only breed once a year. Magellanic penguins are really big migrator species, so they migrate about 1,000 to 3,000 miles a year. So for about 3 to 4 months, this is pretty much what they do all day long. They spend most of their time in the water. When the sun starts to stay out longer, those guys get ready for breeding season. The males would arrive about 3 weeks prior to the females arriving on shore. They'd build a nest for their mate or try to attract a mate. They are monogamous, so they do pair up year after year. Four of our birds were rescued from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. It's a little far north from where you typically find Magellanic penguins. Robbie, Roxy, Kate, and Avery were all deemed unreleasable. And you might notice that one of our birds, Roxy, is wearing a bootie right now. She's wearing that bootie to keep her foot in good shape. She has an issue called bumblefoot, and that's actually why she was rescued from Rio, Brazil. Bumblefoot can potentially be a bone infection that can be fatal to these guys. Roxy isn't in danger of that, but that bumblefoot just hasn't totally cleared up since we've gotten her. She's had a couple of surgeries, including a bone spur surgery. So when you have bumblefoot, it kind of chips away at the bone, kind of causing arthritis in a way. And so she has a chronic limp. Now she's coming off of a time where she spent most of her time on land, that breeding season, and also a molt. These guys go through a catastrophic molt once a year where they replace their feathers. And they do have 75 per square inch, so it's a lot of feathers that they have to replace. So she is at her heavier weight, spending a lot more time on land. That puts a lot of wear and tear on her foot. And per vet care, we decided to put that bootie on to prevent any injuries from getting worse. So she should have that on for a few weeks. And that bumblefoot should get better. Roxy's actually had the most chicks out of any penguin here. Roxy and Floyd have had 7 out of the 13 chicks here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. So we know she's a happy girl. She just needs some special care. I'm currently finishing up a feed for our Magellanic penguins. 2 of them on deck are juveniles. They hatched this past May. But they're not really chicks anymore. They actually fledge or leave the nest about 2 to 3 months after being hatched. And that's what they do here at the aquarium as well, except they come right back to the beach where they hatched out. One of them offer her a few capelin at her burrow door. Maybe she does not want them. but they have access to these burrows year-round. They raise their chicks in them and they rest in them. And she's basically guarding her burrow, telling me to leave her alone. So she can come to the bucket if she wants fish, but she only eats capelin. She really doesn't like the herring. And most of our birds like herring and they don't really like capelin. So she's an interesting individual. She has paired up with Shim, and they haven't had their own biological chicks, but they have been really good surrogates. So sometimes these guys have they always lay 2 eggs, but sometimes both of the eggs are viable or fertilized, and we don't want to have the parents have to raise 2 chicks if they don't have to. So this past year, they actually raised one of Roxy and Floyd's chicks, and Roxy and Floyd got to raise one of them, one of their own. That was the last bird that needed to eat for the day. His name is Robbie. He's also one of our Brazilian rescue birds. And he has basically trained me to present him with food. He likes to put his feet in the water and kind of just push his head out and not get too close to the bucket. He will eventually come to the bucket if you wait, but I don't make him do that. So he likes to sit at the edge of the water column and just kind of stare at me until I give him his fish, and I throw him to him long ways. Most of our birds only eat herring. Some will eat both herring and capelin. But this time of the year is pretty much the middle of their migration time. If you come back to us at the end of March, our birds get really serious about building nests. We give them nesting material, which happen to be sanitized palm fronds that the city trims. In fact, that's going to happen pretty soon. We dry those out, and then we sanitize them and give them back to the birds. It's one of my favorite times of year to hang out with the birds because I actually help them build their own. Well, I don't really help them. I hand them the nesting material and they build the nest. But it's a really interesting opportunity to see individual behavior. All of our birds are a little bit different. Some are a little bit more bold. It's a juvenile western gull and an adult. Or juvenile gull, western gull and an adult. Sorry, I was distracted by them. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here with my fish so those gulls know that they aren't going to get anything. But it is safe to say that all of our birds have had at least one fish today. We do record every single fish that goes into our birds. It's a really easy way to make sure everybody's happy and healthy. If they only eat 1 fish a day, that's okay, but that is a trend that we would take a look at. Whereas, let's take a look at Skipper. Skipper's had 5 herring today. That's a pretty good amount. He's probably going to eat that same amount tomorrow. If he only ate 1, would probably be okay, but if he went 3 or 4 days without eating one, with only eating 1 or nothing at all, then we would get him a vet checkup. By the way, our animal hospital is right down the stairs, so if anything's going on with our birds, if somebody's limping, if they look a little off, if they look a little shy, and maybe it's a breeding season, we let the vets know, and then they can do a blood test. But I'm basically the first set of hands that sees these guys. So I work with them 5 days a week. I know them pretty well. Everybody looks like they're doing really well. We just got to get that booty to stay on Roxy, and we will have a nice, successful migration time. But if you notice, the birds are going to spend a lot more time in the water than on land. They get a lot more easily spooked by things like these western gulls. So don't be alarmed if you don't see them head out on land. In fact, these guys spend about 3/4 of their life in the water. And come visit us again in March, and we will have baby penguins. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us and spending your day here at the aquarium.